Hey everybody, it's Simply D,
It's Jules.
and we are now live. This is the INNERMIX show, Hangouts version of it, anyway. And we're back. It's Monday, and it's
Indeed, it's Monday. It's a hard Monday. I'm feeling this Monday in every which way possible. My whole
Really?
body hurts.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. A whole weekend of cleaning and running errands like a mad woman. Yeah, I feel it. Not having not enough sleep, I feel it for sure.
Well, I mean, cleaning definitely takes time, depending on how long it's been. And,
well, and how thorough.
Yeah, thorough.
Yeah.
Thorough. Mm-hmm. Thor.
Thorough.
Thorough. Like
you throw.
Utero.
You don't.
So basically, your weekend, since that's what we got to do, is how was your weekend, Jules? What did you get accomplished this weekend? What did you do other than cleaning?
Accomplishing?
Mm-hmm. What'd you do?
My toilet is really clean. But
I would hope so. Go ahead.
What I honestly, I don't even know where the time went, because that's pretty much the only. Everything was cleaning. Everything to do with cleaning. My inside of my body cleaning with a cleanse. Really cleaning my house. Cleaning my body. I went to a sauna to get all the dirt off. Because I haven't been in months, and my muscles were telling me that it's been months, almost a year. And getting just prepared. My dad actually came from Korea today to visit, so I haven't seen him in over 2 years. So it was a big deal. I missed him a lot, and so he just got in today, this afternoon, like at 3 something. It was insane because he got in, his flight landed at 3:30. He got out of the airport with the whole immigration thing, the immigration line by like almost 5:30. So it took him almost 2 hours to get out. So we were. Granted, like I was late, but I knew in anticipation. I'm
You're
like
doing well today on the words.
Sean Connery over here. Anticipation of the whole process taking long. I went a little late.
Right.
But it's still. I mean, because I still. Honestly.
Right.
I also. I mean, I was working too, so I couldn't really just up and leave. Anyway. So yeah. I mean, the reason that irritates me is I had a whole conversation about that with my mother, but whatever. Anyway, I'm just gonna move on past that. Anyway, so yeah, and picked them up. There's insane traffic because I usually don't drive in LA around that time, like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Usually I'm indoors somewhere, or like at my desk or doing something where I'm not on the road necessarily. So I'm not familiar with the traffic anymore like I used to be a long, long time ago. So I'm sitting in this traffic coming back from LAX for a good, and I don't live all that far from the airport, but it took me like 50 minutes, considering how short of a distance it really is. And then, so I took my dad to dinner, and then he paid, so he took me to dinner, and so I literally just got back, so it was nice, but in time for the show, so I'm happy to be here. But yeah, he's in spirits. Like he basically brought 3 huge things of luggage, granted 2, and then like 1 of his personal. All 2 huge bags was full of things for my sister and the baby. Nothing for me. Granted, that's fine. I told him I don't need anything. But my mother went a little crazy and overboard and purchased everything possible that she can for a baby girl and a mother that's expecting. For those of you who don't know, my sister is like pretty much about to pop in a few weeks, in about less than 10 weeks, so she's pretty pregnant, and they are having a little girl. So,
Pretty pregnant. I love that term. I'm gonna remember that one.
pretty pregnant, yeah. But it's so funny because she's so skinny. My sister's tiny. She's like 5'2", before pregnancy, obviously, she was like barely 100 pounds. She's like a twig. And the weirdest thing is she's still a twig, except for the stomach. So it's not like she's eating constantly. She's eating like a pregnant woman should, but not gaining weight anywhere else except for her belly. And so she looks like an alien because she's like so lanky and skinny, and then this huge mountain of a watermelon in her stomach. So it's quite interesting. But yeah, so
that's cool. She'll be able to get that weight off. If she gets that weight off real quick, it'll be like
there ain't no weight to get off. As soon as the baby comes out, boop, there she goes. There's nothing. It's fantastic. So unfair.
That's great.
Hence why I hate her.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, no, I love her. I do. Anyway, so that's just been my whole day. Basically whole weekend was cleaning in anticipation. Because I'm excited to see my dad, and yeah, it was a nice moment at the airport. And yeah, so he's here. He'll be here for about a week or 2 weeks or so. So we're trying to make the best of this trip because I won't see him again for about another year. So, yeah.
Well, alrighty. Over the weekend, on this end, we finally finished all of our spring cleaning for the most part. Everything is now, we can actually move around in my home, so that's fantastic. And so yeah, a lot of cleaning, but we went because we have some really cool things coming up for INNERMIX. So me and my wife went to go make sure that we could take care of and do some of these things. And on Friday, because I have a drive here in my office that we have a drive that basically holds a lot of the stuff that we do and whatever. Thank God I'm really smart, but because we went to Best Buy to Geek Squad to try to have this drive worked on, and I lost 11 years worth of stuff.
What?
I lost 11 years worth of all the work I've done for all of my other companies. Everything is gone. Absolutely gone. The only thing I have left is stuff for INNERMIX, because I kept that updated file in a different location, but which technically where I kept it was not. You're not really supposed to keep that large files like that, because INNERMIX does a lot of media stuff, so we have large files, and but I always backed it up onto this drive, but I never put the original file onto this drive so that I could access it quicker. But oh my God! So
how did they lose it, or how was it lost?
Because the drive itself is I've had the drive itself for 11 years. And so the drive stopped working. Everything, all the images, all the pictures, all the shoots we've done with models, all the acting stuff, all of the contacts we have for my other businesses, everything was on this drive. Here, I'll show you the drive. Look. This is the drive. The drive is dead. It will not work anymore. And to get all the stuff off this drive would cost about $1,000 for them to even attempt to get it all off this drive.
And there's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee that they'll be able to do it. So, so I'm thinking about like when I got this drive. My very first business partner bought this drive so we could store all of our stuff, because we were acquiring a lot of traction pretty fast. Like we had, one of the first major companies we worked with was Jennifer Lopez's clothing brand. And we were doing some stuff for them and all that kind of stuff. And then by the time we got all of our acts and all the different things we were working with, so we were building up stuff so quick that our computers themselves couldn't hold all the information we were bringing in. So we said, let's get some external drives. Well, I've had this external drive for about 11 years, and it did a good job, and it died maybe 2 months ago. But I figured, oh, maybe it's just the a port or this, that, and the other. The drive on here won't even spin anymore. It's just done. So when I calculated you know, how long I've had it and what. Man, it was crazy. I stopped and I said, that's 11 years worth of my work, just gone. It just that quick, just boom, gone. So, um, so I was like, man, this is going to be interesting because so I called my other business partner this morning, and he sounded so depressed. he sounded because he was like, because there are things that we have on this drive that only he and I could really truly appreciate because of what we went through in the beginning of building our businesses and stuff like that. So we spent like time just going down memory lane because we won't be able to see these images or anything like that anymore, and just all the things and all the access we've done. It's something when you're building, you know, because in a way, like even in the city that we first built our first business in, we're kind of a legacy in our city and our location and stuff. So it's really interesting how everything just once, like if you're not careful, you just lose so much information. And that's not even talking about, because what he was concerned with is how many hours it took me to acquire the information that was on this drive, you know, for each business. And he sounded more disappointed about how many hours I spent doing all that research than anything else. But it was interesting. It was a very interesting thing. That was Friday. So my wife, she was like, oh, want me to buy you 2 video games? Want a video game? Because she was like, she was trying to figure out what's going to make you smile at this point. Because, you know, and I really wasn't like sad. I was just more like, man, what information do I need to rebuild, you know, that was on there that matters today? Because, you know, sometimes we just store stuff that we just don't need. But some stuff we just keep for, you know, what do you call it? It's for your memory. So when you need to remember
sentimental value.
Yeah, sentimental value. But especially when you work in entertainment, sometimes you have to go back and remind yourself what you've accomplished and how far you've come. And a lot of those things were on that drive. Like I had a personal file that helped me remember, so when I would track like what our artists have done, who, you know, where they are now from where they started, and, you know, if they ever call and say, can I get this or can we do this? And recently I had a situation come up where it's a good thing I had that information, because I had to, you know, provide that for a legal situation. But just, you know, all that stuff is just wiped out. So now I have to go back and kind of rebuild parts of that to protect old clients and stuff like that. But it's a really interesting process, and I never thought about, you know, especially back in the day, before I had all this equipment I have now that will read stuff to me, I did everything visually. I didn't have a reading program that was going to read stuff to me. I didn't have, didn't have a lot of stuff, you know. So we think about how much work it took to acquire that stuff and how to get that stuff just right, how to formulate the business plan for our company, and how all those different things that I had accomplished kind of helped us set up the business structure for INNERMIX. And I can go back before and pick out where I'd get my ideas from and this, that, and the other. So it was like, wow, that's a lot of work. That's 11 years. I'm like, dang. Then I thought about it, I was like, 11 years fit on that one drive. That's not bad. So it was just, you know, so had that happened, then Saturday was just really chill, really relaxing. We just as a family just decided to rest because we'd been moving nonstop pretty much. And then, like my wife says, we're just working toward our vacation at this point. So she's already in vacation mode. And yeah, and then other than that, you know, I mean, other than the drive thing, the weekend was really relaxing, really cool. A lot of ups and downs. I had to, and I've been working with people a lot lately on holding on to their vision. So I did a lot of that kind of work this weekend. So, but a cool weekend overall. So yeah, other than that, tonight's show, you guys, because I know you guys are really interested in us wrapping up this series on, because first off, we already have 17 suggestions for the next series.
Oh my Lord.
Yes, we do. We really, really do. Apparently, you guys, especially here in the Google Plus situation, you guys like knowing that we're gonna like series more so than one-off shows, because that way it's easy for you to keep track of what's coming and how we string it all together. I have to say that although this is the longest series we've done, truly, that it is also one of the most successful ones in terms of the feedback that we've gotten, other than our very first one. But I don't think anything's going to beat that first one. And if it does, it's going to be because the viewership is way higher. but our first one was Guilt, Shame, and Recovery, and that one did very, very well. So tonight we are going to we're going to try to finish up with stress and relationships, because it is something that is continuously moving. Like, people are still talking about the stress they're under in their relationships, their personal stresses, and then adding those personal stresses into the stress of being in a relationship. And they're still trying to work out how to balance them. How do you respond to someone who doesn't deal with stress as well as you do? Which is a very popular question, apparently, this summer. I'm guessing that the heat is starting to get to people. But when you handle stress better than your partner does, how do you deal with them? How do you keep from just writing off their stress and being like, you know what, forget it, I don't have time for this, I'm out. Which is what people are fighting to not do, but they're getting to that point where they're like, whatever, man.
Sometimes, well, granted, for every person it is different, like you said. But people create their own stress in their mind. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It could just be like, oh, this happened, boop, move on, and
right.
As simple as that. But instead, they let it completely sink in and kind of overtake their entire being of and their thinking, and they put so much energy into that when it's such minuscule. It's so little, and it's and so it is very difficult, because I've had situations personally when talking to people, especially when people are very oh, woe was me, it's stressing me out, this is not, I don't like this, I don't like that, it's not fair, blah 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 blah, or why are they doing this, and I'm pissed off, and it's making me stressed out, it's making me feel this way. But then you can easily also be like, okay, and then move on. But it's hard. And then when you're that personality that is okay, and then move on, talking to somebody who's I can't deal with this, I'm too stressed, and about the same thing, then it's really difficult, because you're completely talking different languages at that point.
Oh yes.
So
most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. One of the things that we find as my cell phone is just doing dumb things. I think too many of you are trying to talk at the same time. So anyway, so one of the things that I ran across this weekend was a man who basically said that his girlfriend thinks that he's too optimistic about life, and that annoys her. So when things come up and he is, he's easygoing, he's like, you know what, we'll deal with it by the numbers, basically, we'll deal with things as they come. She doesn't like that, because she's like, well, how come you're not freaking out right now? How come you're not having, how come you don't care about this as much as I do? And he said, I care about it. The issue is not about whether I care about it or not. It's what am I going to do about it right now that's going to change anything other than, what's freaking out going to do?
Exactly.
Let me process. Let me look. Because he's also he's a really good businessman. He's actually a cool guy to talk to anyway. But he basically says, let me see what resources we can allocate to the issue, so that we can see if we have what it takes to handle the issue, or if we need to go get help with handling the issue. She says, well, but you should at least show some kind of emotional connection to what's happening right now. He's like, he said, basically his idea is, his emotional connection is him saying, this requires an answer. I need to find an answer to this so that we can continue to move on. But freaking out and panicking in the moment is not going to solve anything.
I mean, it's interesting because I'm a half-breed. I kind of understand both sides.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm putting this in different scenarios, right? So let's say so one thing, let's say a bill was, late, or
Right.
something happened, monetary something, so, something happening with money, and then the guy's like, okay, well then let's deal with this, let's do this. You could boom, 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 solution guy, and the girl is like, oh, I'm so stressed out. I don't know what to do. What are we gonna do? And instead of actually looking for a solution per se,
Right.
he just wants to. This is not gender specific at all. But
Nope.
I'm just as a scenario.
Sure.
So
Uh-huh.
person A is, okay, whatever, boom, 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 solution. Person B is like, I don't care about solution. I just want to like freak out in this moment and stay here because in a weird way, they like it.
It feeds them.
Yeah, it feeds them. It makes them feel something. And then, but at another, and then to completely say don't have any emotion connected to any situation, that's different too. Because let's say you have a death of a friend or a loved one or a family member or something like a stressor like that. That definitely will cause stress. Emotional stress, physical stress, everything, because your body's basically in mourning. To say, and then when somebody's going through that kind of situation, you can't be like, well, let's find a solution. Boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? Like, you have, in that situation, yeah, you want to be emotionally connected. You want to show sympathy and empathy and go through with it with the person, instead of just like, well, get over it, So, or like somebody lost a job, well, get over it. No, like you want to, yeah, eventually find a solution for it, but let them kind of
Mourn the loss of the job, right?
Yeah, mourn the loss of whatever, something that they had, something that they loved, whatever it is, So I see both sides in that. Having said that, I know personally I've had conversations like once with another girlfriend where they were stressed. I mean, it's legit, stressors. Like, has to do with family, her parents, mortgage, like, it's so much stuff. And like she didn't love her job, but then they put her through her master's, college or graduate school or for business or whatever it was, I forget. They paid for it, so she can't leave. She's like obligated to stay for X amount of years. But she hates the job because they don't treat her right or all these things. Or she could make more money somewhere else, but then she can't because she has to stay, but then she has to pay for the parents and then, give them allowance, and then also because they're retired, also pay for the house. It's just a lot. And she's like, pushing a certain age where it's probably going to be impossible for her to have a baby, like naturally, or a healthy one. And she's still single. And so like, she's all these things. So I completely get it. But it's also been 10 years or so since she's actually gone on a physical date. It's also been, I don't know, 6 years or so since she's stayed at that job saying the exact same thing. It's also, nothing has actually changed but this conversation happens like on a daily basis.
Right.
So yes, your situation and your stressors are absolutely legit. No doubt about it. Anybody in your situation would stress the hell out. I get it, But at the same time, if you're going to say the same story every day, every time I see you, all the time, nothing changes, and you don't do a single thing to change or do anything about it, then there's also a problem there too. You know what I mean? Like, as far as being single, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Like there's a lot of things instead of just, you're not going to find somebody just sitting in your room all day just sulking about it. Same thing with like if you don't like your job, if you maybe you could have gone to a different position or maybe look into other opportunities within your position, within your company, or there's other things that you can put effort into for 6 years. It's the same story. And so that's the only thing. Like, in that situation, I would say, yes, sympathize, but at the same time, it is good to, like, give them a nudge, give them a push, and to find out solutions. And now it's on them if they don't take that and actually apply it, but,
I've never really been really good with people who come to you to tell you their problems, but they're not looking for a solution, per se.
Right.
And then even as because as a life coach, the people who come to you are looking for help so they can find a solution, and they just need help getting direction toward that solution. So that's one thing. But someone who just wants to repeat the same problem over and over again, they just want to hear themselves talk. And because even if they come to you for the strength to make a change, they that strength leaves as soon as they're no longer in your presence. It's kind of like an out of sight, out of mind type of situation. And there are ways to work with that too, but it's more exhausting. Because I do have friends who, at one point or another were the out of sight, out of mind. Like, you talk to them, they're encouraged, they're going to go out, they're going to conquer the world, and then they sit at home or they sit somewhere, they go to work or something, and then they have a bad day at work, so it changes their whole perspective on their life and everything, and they go right back to where they were before you had that really encouraging speech and talk with them. That would have been terrible if you had been Braveheart. And you encourage the people to go forward, and then something happens, the horses trip, somebody falls off the horse, we're all going to die, we're just going to die, this is going to be terrible, like, I didn't know it came out here, your face is all blue and painted, like, come on, we trust you, like
you look like a hairy Smurf.
Yeah, you ain't even a full Smurf, you're like a half Smurf, like, oh my God, like, you're smurfing out of your fur, like, it's just ridiculous, like, but some people only know how to be negative. They trust negativity because the negative things happen to them more than the positives according to their point of view on their life. So they trust the negative approach because that is the most consistent thing that they get. I mean, everywhere they look and turn, they're going to see that everybody else's life is more positive and theirs is the negative life. And then when they look at the news, they find somebody who looks just like them on the news in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And, it's just ridiculous because it's always negative on the news. So they become their own newscaster. Yeah, so my life sucks. Type thing. And it gets to be to where it's just a problem. It's just a continuous problem. So so that's why I tell people, if you're going to talk about having an issue, then you probably need to eventually get to the point to where you want to solve that issue, or you're going to chase all your help away.
Yep. Because people are going to attempt to help you. They want to genuinely help you, but then there's a fine line, or there's a limit to that. Like if you offer and wholeheartedly offer to help, but you keep getting rejected, basically, because it is a rejection in a way, because it's like saying, it's like if you give somebody food and they say, oh, I'll take it, and then they put it somewhere and it rots. Instead of them actually eating it and enjoying it, and then because you gave it to them with your heart, you made this amazing mish dish. I said deal and mish. Oh my God. Okay, dish or meal, wanting or expecting them to enjoy it and eat it, but yet they take it from you, but then they put it away and not eat it, and then molds, and it basically you have to throw it away. They throw it away. That would piss me off. If I was a person who gave the food. So and then a couple of times maybe they just went out too many times this week, didn't have time to eat it, or whatever, it was too spicy for them, I don't know. But if you're constantly giving them, making them food. I don't know why all my analogies are about food. Sorry guys.
I mean, you don't even cook like that. I'm trying to figure out.
Theoretically, ideally, but you know what I mean. But constantly they just keep throwing away what you give them. Then at a certain point, I'm not giving you nothing. Not because I don't want to give you stuff, but I know it's eventually just gonna go into trash. So might as well enjoy it myself, or give to somebody else who's gonna enjoy it. It's the same kind of analogy when it comes to like genuinely wanting to help, genuinely wanting to like see you in a better situation and give you contacts, give you different resources, give you assistance, physical assistance to do whatever it is that, to help you get out of the stress that you're in, and you don't do anything about that, you don't do anything with that aid, at a certain point, they're not going to offer it anymore because they see that it's going to waste.
Mr. Jackson and Falima, which are two different people. I think this is really kind of interesting. But they're both. So Mr. Jackson says, what do you do when you have a girlfriend that's super negative and you're trying to move forward in a positive direction? And Falima has the same question, except hers is, of course, what do you do if you have a boyfriend who's super negative and you're trying to keep the relationship strong and moving forward, but they seem to be dragging you down with all their stress. They're stressed about everything. Falima's is a little bit more detailed, but hers is basically saying that he stresses about everything that's outside of his control. But her observation of that basically is, but isn't almost everything out of our control?
Yeah.
On some level. so she's like, so what do you do with that? Because you don't want to let the person go, but it really strains the relationship when you look at something as an obstacle that can be overcome, and they look at it as something that is just
unchangeable.
It can't be changed. What advice would we give? First off, Michael, welcome. Welcome to the show. I saw you sneak in.
How are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Not too bad.
Good.
Awesome.
So I just popped in. I'm a little lost at what the conversation's about, but it's entertaining.
Thank you very much. Especially, since Jules doesn't cook, but she gave a really long cooking analogy. I thought that was really great.
I like
sometimes.
her passion, though.
Thank you.
Definitely passionate.
This is true. Good observation, Michael.
Very high vibration. A very sensitive person, you can tell.
Oh, thank you.
There's some deep waters there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now if we could only teach her how to swim. No.
Excuse me.
Well, tonight, Michael, we're primarily talking about, we've been running a stress and relationship series for quite a while now. And it's been, people have continued to stretch this series out longer because, there are people who are definitely stressed in the middle of their relationships, but they're not sure how to deal with, like, usually for most situations, one partner is stressed, the other one is pretty easygoing. So we've taken the time to basically break it down into some of the things that cause people to be stressed over the last few weeks. But tonight we're kind of wrapping the series up, and we're getting a lot of questions dealing with, well, how do we deal with particular situations? So with Falima and Mr. Jackson, basically they're asking, they're primarily focused right now on what do you do with a partner who is primarily negative, and you really want to, but you don't want to let them go, because the easy answer is get rid of them. But suppose you see redeeming qualities in them, but their sense of constant negativity is really pulling on you. So that's kind of where we are, at least at this point. We'll see what happens in the next 15 minutes. But right now, that's what we're talking about. Right now, that's where we are.
One thing I have to say about that, I think it's very interesting how, and this is such a cliche saying, but I think it's very genuinely true for the most part, that opposites do attract, right? And so when you have, because if you think about it, if you have two super negative people together, oh, that relationship is so bad. I don't think you last long at all. If you have two super positive people together, that would be really annoying.
No,
maybe not annoying.
At parties.
No, but oh my God, this is the most delicious.
What is this? Poison wine? Poison wine? Oh my God!
Amazing. Shut up. But I'm just kidding about that. But like, if you have two people who don't necessarily think about consequences and they're always so positive. I'm talking extremes, right? So like,
yeah, I'm like, people can be positive and take in their situation, but still have an optimistic outlook on their life situations.
That's positive and optimistic. You said the two.
Yeah.
You mean what?
Yeah, they can have an optimistic outlook on a negative situation and still be in a positive place.
Well, because they're optimistic.
Yeah. So why would that be annoying? I'm
not saying no. You're not getting me. You're not understanding me today. Anyway, I guess I'm referring to a Friends episode, but whatever. Okay.
See?
I'm on my own. Anyway, because it's like, oh my God, look at this phone cover. It's the most amazing phone cover, and it's like, it's black. You know, I'm talking about something like that. When they
I think
take
black
it
is
so
beautiful.
extreme.
I think it's beautiful. I personally
Alright.
think black is beautiful.
Or like, this is the most clean plate ever. Like, calm down. But I'm just saying, like, when you have somebody who kind of has something that you don't have,
Mhm.
I think it's a positive thing in a sense because you learn from each other. Like, you're not just kind of in your own bubble, and you're not just kind of in your you expand your extremes as far as understanding goes and patience goes, and your skill set in learning how to put yourself in the other person's shoes and understanding their side. Because if you just have the same minded people all the time, either on this end or this end, then you won't understand each other, or on the opposite ends. Does that make sense? Did
I
I
was with
totally?
you. I know what you meant. I know what you meant, but I know you got lost somewhere. No, but I
No,
know what you mean.
okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But and it is true. I'm gonna try to restate it. It
Okay.
is true that if you don't like when you deal with people who are diversely very different, okay, and they can't and they meet up on some level, then you can't help but learn from each other. Whether you're dealing with somebody who looks at the situations very intently, and that's why they get really, irritated or depressed or stressed out, and then you have the person who's really, that says, "Oh, it doesn't matter. We'll work it out. It's going to be fine." Blah blah. Once you, as the positive person, learn how to understand how the person who's seeing everything in a negative way or very intently, because it's not always negative. It's just probably very focused. Let's be real. Sometimes people just look at it so extremely that they see more the negative outcomes than the positives out first because, quite frankly, there are more negative outcomes possible with a lot of these things, So, but you learn to listen. But at some point, especially when you are really working with somebody and not just talking at somebody, you learn to hear what each other are saying. And somewhere in there, you tend to find a balance. But how do you deal with somebody who is basically, now if the person is just outright not trying to hear you, and you're not trying to hear them, well, there are several different, there's several different phrases people have used over time, but I like the one that says a house divided cannot stand. Like, really, you can't, if you refuse to listen to each other at all, then you're not going to, you're going to end up staying in the same situation where you're ripping each other apart.
Yep.
And then you're going to hold on to someone who's actually always hurting you because they're not listening to you. And you're not listening to them. You build up a resistance to their negativity. So soon you're like, I can't take you anywhere. You're always so negative. So I can't talk to you about this. You're always negative. Well, these are the people that are supposed to become your good friends, a part of who you are, and you can't even deal with them because they're always so negative. Or so you really need to find a way to communicate and help them understand that you understand what they're saying. And a lot of times I have found, because in my relationship, I'm the optimistic one. I see a lot more positive outcomes a lot of the time than my wife does at first, right? But what she likes is the fact that I will hear what she's saying, address, the concerns that she may have, but I will, come up with a solution, not just say, "Oh, well, you're wrong," and move on, So.
Oh, because that works all the time to tell people that you're wrong and walk away.
Yeah, only with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my method.
What do you do if someone's an emotional vampire, though?
Oh, that I love that term because I usually go with leech, but with an emotional vampire, then what you tend to find is that you recognize who they are at some point, and you say, this is not healthy, and because it's not healthy, I can't allow myself to be put into this situation over and over again, or you're abusing yourself at that point. So it's important because I used to date an emotional vampire. Hold on.
I think everybody has.
Oh yes.
Or they have a co-worker, right? Or
Yeah.
someone, but you have to learn to shield yourself.
Yes, you do, and you have to learn. See, the emotional vampire question goes right into Jules's analogy about the food. That's gonna be my go-to thing for the rest of this show.
Why is everything food?
I don't know why I don't know.
Are you passionate about food?
I am actually.
Yeah,
I do love to eat.
The girl does love to eat.
Is it like a comfort thing?
I'm sorry?
Is it about comfort?
No, it's not about comfort. I mean, I do love comfort food, like Southern comfort food. But it's about I don't like eating by myself. I like the company. I like the talking and the enjoying the taste, the the fine side of it, I guess. Appreciating the artwork of what it took to make something that tastes that delicious.
Now,
And
are
it's
you
not
a good
delicious.
cook?
Am I a good cook?
Yeah.
I would like to think I am, in theory. I'm a better baker than I am a cook. I like to bake things more so than cook.
You're probably a better baker because you like baking.
Maybe.
Right?
Possibly.
Maybe you enjoy. I had a grandmother that couldn't cook her life of her, but she could bake anything. And it was
Wow.
because she was passionate about baking. She
Very
liked cookies. And,
Pies.
you know, where I'm more of a steak and potatoes guy.
Me too.
Yeah, but that's comfort. My mom used to give me those foods, right? So I don't know how we went from vampires to comfort food, but all right.
The thing about when you deal with people who are emotionally very needy and they seem to always need your attention, it's important to create a buffer space, a space where you can address whatever it is that you need to address if it's necessary, but at the same time not allow yourself to get sucked in over and over and over again. Because I used to get literally about 15 phone calls from this one girl a day. And at some point, I said, I might answer the phone once every 3 days. Because maybe then it'll be a different question. Maybe then it'll be something different. After a while, I just had to stop answering the phone until enough time passed for her to solve her own problem.
And she calmed down, right?
Oh yeah, well I can understand her need to get to know me. I can understand that. But
no, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But
you know what? I'm gonna reach through this screen right now.
What the hell?
A lot of love there. That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, we Jules and I have been partnered for what's it, 8 years now?
Yeah.
Or so? So we're used to each other.
But I used to have a friend too, where if I hang out with her for too many consecutive days, I just feel so emotionally drained and tired, and I'm just like, I just want to pull my hair out. I can't do it.
You ever had to get geared up to go hang out with somebody? Like you really literally have to get yourself psyched up to go hang out with them, because you know that if you get way up here, then by the time the day is over, you'll be back down to normal, or maybe just a little below normal. I've had a friend like that too, where like I said, I couldn't do it after a while. I just had to.
Do your feelings get hurt easily?
Which one of us?
How about both? We'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very sensitive person, so and
I sense that from you.
I'm more auditory than visual, so the way things sound and the way things come across to me, I receive things. Oh, you may not know this either, but I'm also blind, so the way I receive a lot of information in the world around me is by the way things sound to me. So you can say whatever you need to, but I'm very tone sensitive, I guess would be a good way to say it.
But I can feel your heart chakra right now, and it feels very open. You're a very spiritual person.
Well, thank you.
No, I can actually sense the vibration through you, just even through the screen. So I can imagine if I was in the room with you, I'd really feel it.
Oh, I like to say I'm a great people person, and I have and I love to interact with the world around me. So I would always say I'm a very open. I'm a very open person, and and like all our fans know, we are quick to say God has blessed us with the ability to communicate. So,
but that's your mission, though.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I can sense that from you. That's why you're here.
Well, thank you very much.
Is this a little too deep?
Say again?
Is this a little too deep? If I get too deep, just tell me.
Hold on, I had a good joke. Go ahead.
No, don't be gross.
No. I was gonna say I had a doctor who, for the longest time, was trying to, because my skin was really tough, right? So they were always trying to stick me with needles when I was in the ambulance or whatever I was going through, and the needle when I was younger would just break on my skin. So they had to get a different caliber needle, and there's like, okay, let me know if it goes too deep. And I literally squirted blood. I'm like, how am I gonna know it's too deep until I'm dead? Like, I don't know. You know, was the first thing that came to mind when you said that. So, Jules, are you a are you a sensitive person? Would you say that you're a sensitive person?
Oh, let's let Michael answer. What do you think?
Very much so.
I'm sorry?
Very much so. But you're a tough nut to crack. How to explain this? It takes a long time for you to trust. And you don't let many people in, but if someone is fortunate enough to gain your trust, they're very blessed. But there's a series of doors and obstacles to go through to get there.
Michael, do I know you? Yeah, I am sensitive. I've shared on the show before that I am, but I've built so many self-defense mechanisms that I protect myself in many ways possible.
Why?
Physically too. Because I'm a woman. I really am, people. I am a woman. Despite all the rumors that I have a half-breed. But yeah, I have feelings, and I do cry, and I get emotional. Like I did today, I saw my dad, and I started crying, and I missed him a lot. So I am sensitive, but being in the business and being in the position that I am, I can't be, a sobbing, wet, tears everywhere, like always being so emotional, being swayed, left and right with every emotion that comes over me. I can't display.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I am in my 30s, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're a very young spirit.
Oh, thank you. I plan to be that way till the day I die.
You have a passion for living. I sense that from you, but you're easily hurt. You're the type of person that if someone says something to you, you process it, and then you run it through your head several times, and then you may even cry over it, but alone. You don't ever let someone see that. And I sense that from you.
It is true. It's very rare that I let people see my real emotions when it's something very sensitive. But I do show them eventually to very few.
Right.
The people that I trust with my life.
Doors that you go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to have like a janitor amount of keys to like get through all the doors. But yes, it is true. Very good observation, Michael, by the way.
Well, no, it's just that's been my gift. I can read energy and the flow of energy, and I felt like I should just. I saw this on the page, and I thought, you know what, I need to click it. So I clicked it, and I didn't know why, and I just let fate end up here. But no, this is my path. I've been this way my whole life, and very sensitive, but there was a reason why I clicked. So now we're here and we're talking, and I just hope you don't feel a little violated, but because when we were talking, I could actually feel your heart opening and feeling a little scared. You were fluttering a bit.
Oh, interesting.
It was making you uncomfortable, but you were also intrigued.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We've always been with our fan base demographic and all that kind of stuff, because there aren't a lot of hosts and a lot of entities that are out there like INNERMIX, pretty much around the world. So we get a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to understand how we operate, how we work, and how we do the things we do. And then they're always trying to figure out how we're able to give God so much glory for the things that we go through. And whether it's building positive relationships or being up on stage next to each other while at the same time running the different things that we do, how do we keep things moving? So every once in a while, we will run into people who are, who spend a lot of time, like sometimes you'll get, and I've heard this recently, sometimes people will get that whole, we're standoffish type of feel from us from time to time, because we're usually trying to wait to see what they want, because it's rare when people approach us out of the blue and don't want access to how to either divide us or how to create another version of what we do. So, but it's the business we're in. The business we're in is it's not necessarily about being original. It's about figuring out what works and how to use it for, what they want to use it for. So,
What's your long-term vision then?
Our long-term vision for INNERMIX is like our mission statement is to have a positive effect on everyone we come in contact with, to make sure that the people who don't know that they have value learn that they have value and learn that their value is not just a little something. It's a major thing. But INNERMIX is a ministry. It's more than, like God's given us so many gifts that it's important that we not sit on those gifts but walk boldly into them, understanding that God is the head and we are simply following what he has called us to do. So in doing that, it's like one day you'll probably be hearing about INNERMIX hosting a relationship cruise where people who need time to rebuild the ability to communicate, they'll be all on the same ship having a good time and just enjoying life together, not the stresses that come with life together, but yet working through those difficult things. We've both individually gone through so many difficulties and made it through to the other side that it's important to know that there is hope, that you can make it, that no matter whether it's a physical ailment or an emotional ailment or even a mental ailment, that you're able to still push through because of who God is. And even if you don't know God in the way that we talk about Jesus Christ, even if you don't know that yet, the one thing that everybody needs to know is that they have value and that they are important and that there is hope. And so the mission is, that's why with the INNERMIX show, we primarily focus on building solid relationships. We joke a lot. Our fans have called us the morning show of love and relationships because we're not going to sit here and Dr. Phil you all day. I've read Braille a long time, and Dr. Feeling you was just not one of my plans. So, so one thing that, when we started off doing the radio show and moving into hangouts and stuff like that, we had a very particular mission where we said we were like the rescue swimmers of love and relationships. We will dive down as deep as we have to get you, but we're not going to stay down there and die with you. We're going to bring you back up to the surface so you can learn to breathe again. And we understand the deeper you go, the scarier it is, but that's why you're not going to have to come up on your own. Everybody needs a little help. So, and with the work we do with the TV show coming or with the album coming, it's all geared toward helping people have a more positive understanding of who they are in the world around them and learning that they can make it through.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I honestly had no clue what I was clicking into.
Well, glad you did.
A lot of business people say the same thing about that.
I felt a nudge. I felt the nudge to click, so I did, and I do that in everything in my life. So that's so weird. So what do you get from me? I've read you two. I want to see how, because you're vibrational beings yourself, so both of you are both sensitive.
Well, when it comes down to let's be like when it comes down to reading people, that's not something that I would normally necessarily say is a because everybody has different definitions of that, and I like clarity. So usually if there's something that's being revealed about a person, it's because God is bringing that understanding. He's bringing that discernment. He's bringing that awareness. But a lot of times when not used in the right context, then people start to mistake that for psychics or things like that, and so that's why purposely we avoid those types of situations, and especially in a public space, not because it's impossible for God to reveal a thing, but because without understanding, people can get confused by a thing, and it will lead them down a very dangerous road. So
I agree.
Yeah. So in that, it's better for me to say that you are very observational. You're like, I love your observations. I know that you are very good at moving on instinct, which is hard for people to do nowadays. But it's a very good quality in a person who, how they used to say back in the day, trust your gut.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's Jules and I have always had to trust our guts. And even when people kept trying to take mine out of me, but it's cool. But I made it through. But we but you are a so that's one thing that all of the people will watch this and who have watched or who are watching it right now will be able to say is that you're somebody who may not know who INNERMIX is, but you're somebody who pays close enough attention to your surroundings to understand that whether it's through a video camera or listening on music or whatever, that you are very in tune to the world around you. And I can say that just like how Jules is really keen with body language when in social settings. She can read it, and she can read body language quick, but she doesn't even know she's read it. She'll just react to it. It's great. It's fantastic. When people talk.
It's so funny because in recap, he'll be like, "Do you remember when you did this and when he did this or when she did this and you did that?" I'm like, "When did this all happen? Where was I? I don't remember." But it just happens without me thinking. So.
And with Jules, her sense of watching body language, she reads groups very quickly, and then but that's just from building those walls to protect yourself. You have to know when you are, consciously or unconsciously, you have to know when you need to, so you build these abilities to do that kind of thing. With me, I tend to hear when people are I can hear what's being said and I can hear what they're trying not to say. And stuff like that. So, but it's just
feel it though.
Say again.
Feel it though.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of.
But language is limited. You know that.
Well,
language is so limited.
Oh yeah, language is very limited. And
but it's also within the tone. I think it's what D is really sensitive to, and he's very keen to, is people's tones and understanding what the real meaning is behind something that they say, or what they're truly trying to say when they say something. Because as humans, we always do that. We'll say like, "No, I'm not mad. I'm mad," but we're mad, or like, "I'm not." Whatever. We'll say something but mean completely the opposite so many times. But Dee's really good at reading the real intent of something that is being said, because he understands tones very well. He understands human behavior really well. He's a counselor. I'm sorry?
A great heart.
He has a huge heart. Yeah, he has a huge heart.
He does. I feel that heart, and I can't be the only one. I don't know. It's funny how I just jumped into this, and it feels like this was orchestrated.
Well, one thing I will say,
whatever you want to call it, but what I enjoy the most is the respect between you two, and how there's almost like an unwritten, you have your banter, yes, and there's a little bit of BS and all that other stuff. But
what? No, go ahead.
A little bit.
You'd be in there defending each other. You know what I mean? Like if I suddenly got nasty with either one of you, you would be, oh, well, hey, no, I can only be nasty.
Right.
If anyone's going to beat him up.
I can beat him. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, nobody
I can slap you, D. Yes.
So,
right.
That's what I
got. Very true. Well, before anything else, yes, we're partners, and yes, we're hosts and doing all these things together. But more than anything, we're really good friends. So we originally, if you obviously you don't know about our history,
I know nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, our name is INNERMIX. Welcome to our show. Dee and I have been partners, and we've been working together for about 8 years now. I'm obviously yellow-colored, and I'm a female. Dee's brownish, and he's a male. And, you're not totally black. You're like dark chocolate. Right. He's married. I'm single. We are like the
dark chocolate. I like how you said that.
That's gonna be my thing right there. Hey, Jules just said I'm dark chocolate, y'all.
I didn't say it was delicious. I
just said dark chocolate. Now we got delicious.
I said I did not say. Anyway, Michael, stop putting words in my mouth. Anyway.
No? Chocolate, food, delicious.
So he's married, I'm single. We have like all parts of the spectrum within our relationship, because it's like a dichotomy of every possible sort. I'm an immigrant. He's, granted, yes, I am a citizen here now, but I was an immigrant. He's born and raised here, obviously. He's not from Africa, people. So
where's this broadcast, by the way?
I'm sorry?
Where's this being broadcast?
We're in California.
I'm in Canada.
Oh wow.
Awesome.
A little place called Sarnia,
Sarnia.
near Detroit.
Kind of like Narnia.
It's a border town.
Awesome.
Oh, cool.
I lived in Detroit for about 2 years when I first came to the States. Anyway, so yeah, we've been, predominantly in the beginning were working on music, and he was my manager. We decided along the way, because he's also a singer himself, I'm a singer, and it made much more sense for us to be a group because we were already working on each other's albums and projects. So it was just the next step. Made everything so much easier.
This feels more like a ministry.
It is. But that's how it's, well, I'm just telling you the history. That's how it started. And then God told us, you know what? You guys are a ministry. So do your thing. And as soon as we both accepted. I'm sorry?
What is your demographic? Well, who are the people who tune in? Like, it can't be someone. I'm 51. I'm an old fart.
No.
You're not
Actually,
at all.
well,
Yeah,
let
I
me
am.
tell you.
I'm 51.
When we had our radio show, the demographic was we had 17 through 66. We actually had a lot of truckers. We actually had people who would call in and tell us about, because we deal, like, in my history, and even, say again?
They're lonely? Watchers, are they lonely? Is that what it is? Or they just want cooking tips?
No, no, we covered everything. Well, sometimes we'll bring in, like, entertainers who we work with or things like that, because we talk love and relationships, but we also help people understand the truth behind entertainment so they don't get tricked, bamboozled, and hoodwinked. So so we do a lot of that. That kind of stuff. When I first met Jules, she was kind of on that side of the fence where people were telling her things, but she didn't know a lot of what really happens in the business. So when we became friends, our first conversation lasted 5 hours. And yeah, our very first conversation, because when I first heard Jules sing online, it captured my whole heart, captured all of my attention. I kept playing it over and over again. So before we ever even talked to each other, I had contacted her like a year before I even really got a chance to really talk to her. And
but that's what I was saying before. You're very sensitive vibrationally. Like when people sing, or their voice, right? That, because we're talking again about words. Remember, we said they're limited, but when you sing, that comes from your heart chakra,
exactly,
and you feel that.
Yeah. When people sing,
that, right? So you must have felt that heart right from the get-go.
When I first heard Jules sing, the honest to God, the very first thing I did was call my wife over and say, "Do you hear that?" And then she's like, "Oh, beautiful voice." I said, "No, that sounds like that sounds like pain to me." And over time we just so we first had our conversation, and it was beautiful, and it was great because it was one of the most honest conversations I'd ever had with an artist who didn't know me. So
and for those who don't know this about me, I hate, almost to the point of detest, talking on the phone.
Oh, yes.
I really, really don't like it. And so unless it's in person I could talk to you all day. But over the phone, for some reason, holding on this burns my ear. I don't like it. I feel like I'm getting cancer. Like, I just don't like it. And so the fact that I actually sat there and talked to this person who I have just met, not even in person, but over the emails, the internet, never in my entire life would I ever thought that would even happen. And for me to trust some complete stranger enough to tell him certain things that I never thought I would say, that at that point, and felt very comfortable to say, at that point I was like, oh, this is not just some random encounter. This is like something that God is constructing, because that's something that would not happen on a normal basis. So and another interesting fact is my father's a pastor. Simply D's mother is a pastor, so we're both PKs, which means pastor's kids. And so we both grew up in church. We both grew up in choir and singing and being in the limelight or green light or whatever you want to call it, only because of the fact that we're constantly being looked at by other church the congregation.
That isn't easy, though.
I'm sorry?
That isn't easy.
It's not. Absolutely not. Yeah.
People don't realize that. You take, especially if you come from a family that it's very spiritual, and you need to perform, and that's how you make your supper, or earn your supper, or keep your keep, and it's different. It's a different dynamic. I've known people that are involved in it, and it's taxing.
Well,
Because
the thing about being the child of a pastor is, they've like the people who became the pastors, they recognize that they're learning, they recognize that they're growing, they recognize their relationship with God, and when you're young, you don't have that level of understanding of who God is in your life. All you know is that you're doing what you're told, and somewhere along the line, you begin to either embrace it and love it, or you start to resent the fact that you didn't get to do all the things that they're telling you they did when they were young, and now they're saying, but it's not for you. Don't do those things. Or you're seeing your friends get away with stuff, and they're talking about living the life, and you're not living the life that you feel you should be, that you want to live, because the media makes these things look very exciting. So. Right. So by the time you go out there, you do those things, and you realize, you know what? They're not as exciting as I thought they were. As a matter of fact, they ended up causing me more hurt than I ever knew possible. Whether it was short-term or long-term hurt, I ended up in situations that I didn't necessarily have to go through. But that's the thing about PKs. Like, I know a lot of PKs. And one thing about it is, and one thing about it is the commercial joke about PKs is that they're going to go that they're all rebellious, but the real of it is when you get a bunch of them together, they are the best strength and support system for each other, because somebody recognizes the sacrifice, because it's really a sacrifice early on for the young one to have to say, you know what, this is what my parent is, and so because of that, I recognize who I now have to be, and I didn't get to learn that organically. I didn't necessarily choose that organically. I was, led into this thing, and now I have to either get an understanding or I'm going to run away from it. And the honest truth about it is thank God that our parents listened to at least one scripture that said, train them up in the way they should go so that they may not depart. Because if they depart, they will come back. Because truly, we could have all just ran away and never wanted to come back. But and it's not like, preachers always do the right thing themselves. That's obvious in the news. But thank God for his forgiveness. Thank God for his ability to continue to structure up his people and move them in the direction they should go. That's why I don't deal in confusion. I don't deal in making, saying one thing and meaning another. I refuse to do that, because I've seen what confusion can do to somebody's, understanding of who God is in their life. That again is why I don't do the I don't put myself into a position where people are going to say, is he a psychic? I refuse to do it, because but I will point out the scriptures where people actually said, where somebody thought that they could do the psychic thing by utilizing, by saying they belong to God, but yet they were doing psychic things, and then because there's a repercussion to that. So how
about we say you're intuitive?
Oh yeah, because you can also
say that you're blessed and you have a higher power that's maybe speaking through you.
Well, see, with me,
yes.
To be quite honest, what I do is, if God reveals a thing, then I'm going to say God has revealed a thing. But then I also let people know which God I'm talking about. It's kind of like when you remember Lauryn Hill, when she came out and she was like, everything she talked about, she was like, God this and God that. So everybody assumed that she was talking about Jesus, right? So right. But then one day she named the God she was talking about, and she lost 75% of her fan base, because they were like, we believed in what you were talking about, but if and you named your child Zion, and you did this, that, and the other, and now you're talking about a whole different situation. Oh, people were so hurt. So what INNERMIX does is we make sure we don't never hide the fact. We don't shove Jesus down your throat, because that's not what we're here to do. That's not it at all. We're here about relationships and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, we never hide the fact that we believe in Jesus Christ. We never hide the fact that we believe that he's ascended to the right-hand side of God, and that he's sitting on the throne interceding on our behalf, that our faith fails not.
So what do you do with people who are on the fence, and they're seekers, and they're just trying to find their way, and they're drawn to you, not quite the way I was. You know,
All right.
that nudge, that's different. But when you're younger, you're seeking to find answers to the tough questions.
They usually
And
when people are,
sometimes
I was gonna say
you're
usually
just
when people are
so
trying.
jaded, right?
Oh, yeah, I know the jaded ones.
But you want to know that there are me-minded people who want to find some solace, I guess, in just knowing that it's okay to not know where you are. And I think you're the type of person that could direct someone without force feeding them.
Most of the people that I deal with are those people you just described.
I was one of those people.
Yeah, Jules was one of those
To be
people.
honest with you, I was super jaded. I was super duper, like extremely.
She was leading the jaded parade.
Yeah,
But
let's go.
So you were jaded for a while with religion?
I was. You know, and I talked about this before on the show. I'm pretty sure I did.
That's a radio show. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was a radio show. It wasn't anything else.
Yeah.
But yes, I was in church. I grew up in church, and then in like college era. I call it an era because it was an era in my life. I took one history class. It happened to be history of religion, and the professor basically told us, and I was just, you know, very impressionable at that time, very innocent, naive, and just was taking in the whole college experience. And he told the class, I don't care what religious background you are, it really doesn't matter. When you come in with a completely blank slate. And so I listened because he's my professor. He told me to do this, so I want to get a good grade. I did it. And he basically said, every religion, I don't care what religion, every religion is a form of, is a way for the society to conform you and to put you in a box or whatever it is. And, you know, at that impressionable state in my life, I listened. And I I felt like I was cheated, like why wasn't I given the opportunity to choose my religion, and going through all of these things, asking all these questions, because I was like very curious, and started looking elsewhere for whatever other answers I could think of to find. But having said all of that, yes, I was rebellious, but there was always, and I'm talking always, signs and little you know, the very still voice, that Holy Spirit that's really talking inside of you or talking to you, that is always, it's there. I tried to avoid it, but it was always there. And knowing that, like whenever it was Easter, whether it was Christmas, all the big ones, if I didn't go to church on those days, I felt like I don't believe right now that there's a heaven and hell, but I feel like I'm gonna go to hell, so I need to go. And I still had the fear of God, which is, you know, really interesting. And then I eventually went back to church because I felt like I really belonged there. Christianity was something that I chose, and it was my decision. And then it's funny because. Was that a
painful time?
I'm sorry?
Was that a painful time?
It was a painful time.
Because
not knowing where
I can see the pain in your eyes.
Well, more so than painful, it was more confusing. Because I didn't know my identity, I guess you could say. Because when you don't know who you're...
No. Do you see what I'm saying? Have you let that time go?
Did I let that time go? Of course.
I mean the emotional parts to it. Because there's tags to everything. You know, you can call it luggage, you can carry it behind you. Because when you were talking about that, I sensed that you were still... There was unresolved issues with that time, or regret, or.
If you didn't know, I'm also an actor, so that's how I have to hold on to certain things a little bit so that I can go back to that full emotion to bring it out. So I do that, and whenever I tell stories, that's how I do it. Just to clarify, I'm not still back there, trust me. No,
I'm not saying you're back there. I'm not saying you're back there, but I'm just saying. You being so sensitive, I could see through your eyes that you were reliving that just in a moment.
Yeah, I do. Because I'm a really good storyteller. I like to think so. If I read your bedtime story, you'll go right to bed. Anyway.
No, you won't. You'll be sitting there waiting for the next show to come on.
This is true. Oh, yeah.
No, but really, I understand what you're saying, Michael. But one of the things, because like I grew up in the acting industry, and I'm actually Jules' acting coach, and one of the things that is really important is to be able to hold on to the meaningful things that have happened in your lifetime, so that when you have to use it, when you do have to retell that story, like when I tell people how I lost my sight, or when I tell people different things that have happened to me in my lifetime, they feel like they're there witnessing the entire event. Usually, though, when I tell my stories, they're really upset about things that have happened to me. I'm like, let me go back there right now.
Where they live at?
Where they at? It's 20 years ago. Leave it alone. So that's how come it makes it better. It makes it easier for us to do these kinds of shows, because we're able to take people to where we were when we were their age. Like, the reason why we have such a wide demographic is because the older people, they understand what we're talking about. We're talking about, loving your way through hard times and making it through, because of the hope and the things they've survived over time. Where with the younger, they understand emotionally where we're at, because we tell them, this is what I thought when we were your age. This is what we had to make it through. And these situations were not easy, but we've made it through. And then we don't concentrate so much on the negative that they don't think that there's going to be a positive outlook. Right. So when we deal with people who've been sold into marriage, like we had, what was that, last year or so? We had young girls who were sold into marriage to Americans so that their fathers' reputations would go higher where they're from. So when you're talking to a 15, 16-year-old who has been sold into marriage and she's being beaten, you have to be able to not only convey but genuinely have an emotional attachment to the person enough so that they don't feel like they're going through by themselves. And that, I believe, is truly a gift from God, to be able to actually empathize in a way that's going to stretch over, whether people are reading letters and they feel and they realize you really do care about them. That's why we spend so much time. Honestly, we spend so much time in prayer. And actually, as for the ones who, that we meet that are jaded, I think it's the sense of humor that gets them to, because usually when you think about church, you don't really think sense of humor. That's not the first thing that comes to mind. That's not the first thing that comes to mind.
Right?
Say again?
Humor is healing.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Source of healing, right?
Oh,
it's
yes.
A connection. Again, it's that vibration. But see, you can't fake sincerity.
No.
You can be a great actor, and I get from both of you that it's been a hard road.
Oh, you can't say that again. Yes, it is.
But because of that, you now have the power to have the empathy, to be there, to be supportive, to be loving, to be nurturing, to know what it takes to get through those tough times. And, I bet you get a lot of people who are close to suicide.
Yes, we've had that quite a bit on our show.
That's quite dangerous. You have to be so careful of what you say and what you do and what you represent. And so my hat's off to you. That can't be easy.
It's, honestly, that it's not, but it's something that's a part of, like, when it comes down to working with people through difficult situations in their life. I've been doing this since I was in elementary school. And so whether, like, and even with the massage company that I own, we spend time working with women who are victims of sex crimes, because a lot of times I'm the very first man that's touched them since the crime was committed, and they need someone that they can feel like they can trust, and someone who's going to be there, who genuinely cares about their well-being. And so when God gives you a mission and gives you and puts a call on your life, it's not just so that you are just hanging out with every situation. It's usually not for the easiest situations either. It's usually for something that's going to make a difference, and it's usually going to be somewhat taxing on you. Because there's a sacrifice required no matter what you do, there's going to be a cost. You see what I'm saying? So it might as well be something that's going to bring somebody else to a place where they can smile, or where they can laugh, where they can look at their life and say, but my life's not over.
Exactly.
And since I was one of those who used to be the one who wanted to do the suicide thing, I know the mental place you have to be to think that your life is not worth anything. So to learn that your life has value is worth more than money. It's worth more than any physical affection, because you start to understand that your life has some kind of value, and in understanding that, you get to a place to where you then start saying, well, if my life has value, I recognize now and receive now that my life has value. Now I can think about the physical affection as more than just physical affection. I now want to understand what it is to love someone the way I'm learning to love myself. And it just moves things much further in a more positive way versus the media way of doing things, which will often lead you to a place where you just feel empty and hopeless inside. But everybody thinks your life is cool. So by the time me and Jules got together to do what we do now, we had both survived a lot of crazy things, which really, honestly, were very parallel. Which we found out.
I also have Steve personally himself went through something, with the whole suicide, genre.
Genre of suicide.
I also had a loved one. I have a family member who attempted. And so it's just funny how, not funny haha, but funny interesting, that so many things that we went through, whether it be ourselves or somebody really close to us that we witnessed or had to go through with them, so similar. It's like you could exchange our bodies and it would have been the same story almost.
Literally, Michael, Jules is what my wife calls my work wife. So it's really like she's our number one fan, and you think we're protective of each other? My wife is crazy, man. It's the only time I see that Latina come out in her is when something's coming against INNERMIX.
So, how do you advertise this show?
So what we do right now, the Hangouts started off as a temporary layover because the station that we were on, it was an internet station which we chose purposely because it allowed us to reach into the primary part of our demographic, which was the Asian demographic. And so people were at lunch or whatever. But then the partners that were taking care of that, they fell apart. So the whole station fell apart. They didn't let us know till what was like a week beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And
yep.
But we were
actually no, they didn't even let us know.
No, we went to log on and they said, "Oh yeah, by the way." Yeah.
We decided to do the Hangout. We actually like it because we get to see and interact with our fans, as opposed to just them listening to us. And yes, they could have called in before and whatnot, but they actually were talking about, we want to see your faces while you're talking. And so this was a way kind of to bridge that gap in a way and be more intimate with our fans and them to be able to put a face to the voice and see where, coming from the horse's mouth. Is that the cliche thing?
Which one is this? Is the horse? That's what I want to know.
But yeah, as far as
are you guys on like Twitter and Facebook and
yes, like we are on Facebook. You just type in INNERMIX and we're which is INNERMIX. Matter of fact, this is a good time for us to do that.
Yes, it is.
We're terrible, and I have a marketing person.
Michael.
Yeah, thank you. But so on Instagram, people can find us at INNERMIX360, which is INNERMIX 360. The numbers, don't spell it out, please. Thank you. And then when it comes down to Twitter, you can find us at INNERMIX_show. On Facebook.
INNERMIX?
Yep, straight up INNERMIX. We decided not to be fancy on that one. And then here on Google Plus, you can find us at INNERMIX Show or plus INNERMIX Show. Soon we'll actually have our website, our new website coming up, which will be INNERMIX360, so that people can .com, which will allow people to actually interact with us in every area of the things we do, because whether it's life coaching assistance that people need or whether it's the acting side, they want to see what we're up to. The new TV show that's in development right now.
What is the most effective way for you to advertise? Like I don't know. I think I saw you on the Google page.
Yes. So the most effective way for us, because to be quite honest, we have not done a lot of target marketing recently, because there was a point when Google wasn't stable enough to guarantee that the show was going to come up every week. You know what I'm saying? So
like once a week or every night, or
no, we do once a week.
We're on Monday nights. I'm sorry.
What? I just randomly happened to
You
be.
did.
Yeah.
Today, like it's 12 o'clock where I am.
Where are you at?
And I just got off work and
Canada.
Oh, you're right, Canada.
Surfing, and there you were.
Yeah, so people usually find us because we will send out a blast every week, either on our Facebook page, which automatically connects it to our Twitter, so they can see the link as soon as it goes up. But we're here every Monday night, 9 p.m. PST. We have only literally taken 2 weeks off since we've been doing this, which this summer this June actually made 3 years.
Oh my God!
I think we missed our wait. Did we miss our anniversary? What's today's date? No, it's next week. Next week's our anniversary.
Now, if I have a pretty big following on Twitter. I have over 35,000 followers. And if I was to promote you guys and just tell people about the show, would that be all right?
Oh, that's fine.
Amazing.
That's great. Matter of fact, we in the next couple of, and this is the announcement we actually had for our fans for them to find out, but in the next couple of weeks you're going to be hearing us talk about the fact that because we do have such a big mission and the things that we want to accomplish, one of those things we want to accomplish is to be able to give you a great TV show and a great album to accompany that TV show, as well as eventually do a tour where we can actually learn about how relationships work around the world, so that we are not, while we are working to help everybody improve the relationships, we have a better understanding of how those relationships work where you are located.
And music videos.
Oh yes, and music videos. We are going to be we're actually going to be doing a crowdsourcing campaign, and actually I think it's going to be Indiegogo.
It's Indiegogo.
Indiegogo, because it's A, more internationally recognized, and B, there's just some other great things about Indiegogo that are really going to work out for our fans well. So we're going to be talking about that in the next coming weeks. You'll probably hear us talk more about that in July. But just want to let you guys know to look out for that, because the mission that we are on as a group is really about bettering the lives of those who we are, constantly exposed to. And it's important for us that you learn how to not only have a positive relationship, especially as people are starting to communicate a lot less. They're texting more, but talking less. And so we want to get to a place to where we help everybody recognize and then how to learn how to communicate better, so that they can have the kind of relationship they really want. People want the Disney relationship, and to be honest with you, even though we make fun of Jules for her Disney thing, to have that level of love and passion is possible. It Absolutely. Really is possible. But
it takes work.
It does take work, and you might get a good, cartoonist every once in a while when things don't look right, But anyway, we want you to be able to communicate better. We want you to have that joy and that love that you guys even, talk about. Like, people used to think that me and Jules were married, Michael, because of how we communicate. And
I can see that. But you know what? Maybe it was a past life.
I feel like in the past, like we were the same person. We were like twins.
two sides of the same consciousness.
Yeah.
But
explain that if you're being honest. You feel that you're very similar. I get that you guys are very different.
Oh yeah, we are.
But you enhance each other.
Yeah, we do.
And you flow well off of each other.
And
most people just text in. They're not very quickly and jump in and do the video.
Right. Well, a lot of people, what they do is like we've had a couple different things people do. So throughout the week we will post questions on Yahoo Answers. So because that way people get more involved with that. People on Facebook are not super communicative when it comes down to talking about their relationship issues. They love reading about what comes up, but they don't really communicate that well because they don't want people to see that they have these issues. Same thing in this.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, same thing in this. Right? So we do a lot
on that show. What were you talking about?
I'll say, so what people tend to do is some will write in, some will send emails to us, and then we read their emails on the show. Some will jump right on like you have, but with Hangouts, it's harder for a lot of people to do stuff right away. They will rewatch the show later because it's easier for people when we were doing the radio show. It was much easier for them just to put their their phone on and listen to the show. In Hangouts, now you're sitting there with a video screen, right, the whole time. So what if you're at work and you're supposed to be working? You can't just have a radio show running in the background. Now you have Hangouts, so you're watching the thing. So so the dynamic's a little different, and we have two very diverse audience spaces. We have one side of our audience that loves the radio show aspect because they just like sitting. What was how they described it? Like they were sitting down
on the couch.
Yeah, they felt like they were sitting on a couch talking to their good friends, in the radio show. On Hangouts, it's a much quicker. It's really quick fire response type thing, and but people are not wanting. They want to ask questions. They want to see how you respond to the questions, but they don't want to see their face up there talking about their issues per se, because then they feel like
they're too personal.
Yeah, it makes it too
put
personal.
On the spot. Yeah.
They've tried, but they just got really nervous. So so what we're doing is we're allowing them to see how we respond to their questions. It makes it a little less invasive for them, and they still feel comfortable, because no one wants to come up. Very few people are going to want to do what has happened on our radio show, where they're going to click like you did, join the show, and then say I was sexually abused. That's
you know what because you got my face.
Right?
Yeah. And there's a level of security that people have if it's just their voice.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
They're
exactly.
more open because they feel like it's shielded.
And this is why. And this is why, as we move into the overall plan for what we're going to be doing, people will be able to. I believe when it comes down to anything that we do, you don't just present people with a solution; you support the solution. So with this kind of show, people talk about the different issues, and we go back and forth with the issues. With the TV show, it'll only be a half-hour show, so we're again help people have a place they can go to where they can say, wow, they're really talking about this. And that's why we like doing the morning show feel, because that way they say we can help them go through whatever it is they're going through, but keep the positivity up. Talk about a real issue, but keep it where they feel like there's hope in that issue, because there is truly hope in those things. And then a lot of people, when they hear the music, which is something they can put in their car, in their their phones or whatever, they feel supported, because a lot of our music talks about the journey through situations, and a lot of our music is also just fun, where you can just dance and enjoy your life with. But we believe in how do we say it? We believe in dancing and having a good time, not dancing and doing dumb things in the club, so that you now have to call us and talk about what you did. Yep.
But just like our music, because our music is pretty diverse. We don't just like to stick to one genre per se, or like be pigeonholed into one genre. Dee and I also have very different backgrounds as when it comes to our upbringing and our musical tastes and whatever. But the one area that we both definitely fell in love with is R&B. So that's our core, is R&B. But we also have pop, we have gospel, we have rock, we have jazz, we have whatever we can think of. We listen to everything. I'm classically trained in instruments, and whatever. So like we bring all of that into our music. I'm sorry?
Go to YouTube and put up some videos?
Do we put on YouTube videos?
Do you have a YouTube channel that's just your music? Like, do you have a channel that just does, like, say, your musical videos? Like, if I wanted to share some of your musical videos on, say, Twitter, which is easy to do, or Facebook, where could I find that?
So we do have a channel that is, because two things about the way we use YouTube. First off, we've never used YouTube, and you'll find this, we've never used YouTube to gain a subscriber base, because we needed a place just to hold our videos. So when people ask, so I wanted to answer that question because it's one of the questions that came in. How come we don't have a lot of subscribers? Honestly, we never marketed as a subscribe to us type situation, but we'll probably change that as we move forward down the line. But when it comes down to how to find music for INNERMIX, you can go to youtube.com/INNERMIX show, and then you will see our channel. But usually that's more for updates. People want to see how Jules went to Hawaii last year and what she did and how she got stung and how her foot blew up. Go watch there. We will be returning back to our vlogs and our and putting more music up at the end of the summer. So that's when people can really find more. That's more of the stuff you're talking about. But like the one thing that has been making the rounds lately is Jules and I did a gospel concert recently. I mean, sorry, not recently, a couple years ago, and we're being contacted based on that that performance that we did years ago. And so, so there are some things you can find on us on that. You just keep scrolling until you find things. Like you'll find a video called "Introducing INNERMIX," and there's a song on there called "All Over Again." That's something we did. But yeah, and then if you go to INNERMIX.net, you'll hear a couple of the songs that we have. So we do have stuff out there, but this summer we're going to be focusing on giving you guys music videos. We like to tell stories, and we believe this can be one of the best ways to do it. And yeah.
And it's soon.
I was going to say it's a great way to stay in shape. Go ahead.
Yes, it is. We are actually putting, business-wise, we are getting in shape.
Yes.
We are as far as because we don't want to be too scattered, and right now I guess
we have
a little bit of this, a little bit of that, blah, blah, blah. So we're centralizing everything into. I'm sorry?
Your show is like that.
Well, yeah, we are. We are a little bit of everything, but at the same time, we want other people to be able to find us clearly. So if you go to INNERMIX360.com, which is coming up very soon, or it's going to be up very soon, it's in construction right now, on that website you will find everything you need. Links to everything, music videos, whatever. It'll all be on there. So it'll be very straightforward and easy for you to find whatever it is that you want to find out about us.
And then if anybody's looking to learn more about INNERMIX anyway, you can always go to INNERMIX.net for now, which will actually be grafted into the INNERMIX360.com site anyway. So either one of those URLs will work in the future. But right now, you can go to INNERMIX.net, and if you have any questions that you want us to elaborate on or anything, you can just write it into info@INNERMIX.net, and we will take a look at those. And because that's right now where we're getting a lot of people who say, "Oh, can you send us a video of you guys doing this or that or the other?" But I will tell you though that that email will be good until middle of July. And then we will be switching everything over to INNERMIX 360. But yeah, but as for, and like you said, Michael, our show is, the reason why our show grew is because we didn't stay on one topic the whole time. If something came up that required more attention, it's the reason why we own our stuff. So we could just change it and be like, you know what, we got to make a change. But people seem to stay more in there.
I feel like I'm doing a promo for your show tonight here. Did you guys lose track of the basis of what you were doing? Like, were you answering questions earlier, or
no,
out of my interest?
Well, what happens is, so we answered the original question when you first came on, and then I think we talked about vampires, and then we talked about cooking, and then yeah.
And then we talked about Hawaii, and then we talked about concerts, and then we talked about, I don't know.
Well, yeah. Okay. So what happens is, and because we do have to go soon, but what happens is what happened is this: when you came on, and started talking about how what you see with INNERMIX, our fan base got really interested. So I kept getting this thing in my ear, basically saying, "Don't worry about my question. I'll ask you next week. Don't worry about my question. We'll answer that next week." So people wanted to hear more about what how we responded to the things you were saying and all that stuff. So that's why we just let it flow. Usually,
and plus, we have new listeners all the time, and so I think for those who are tuning in for the first time, or even for the second or third time, who hasn't heard all of this backstory, I think it was a good thing for us to explain. And and it was a pleasure to meet you, Michael. So
good. I feel like I was like a third wheel here, but I don't know.
No, it's
not at all.
Not at all. We're Michael. If you Michael, the longer you hang out with INNERMIX, the more you got to understand that these things happen to us everywhere we go. It's the funniest thing in the world, but literally, and I like to say this one because it's the most odd thing that I can think of in recent history. Jules and I and my wife went out. I went to the restroom. I came out the restroom. Some man approaches me out the blue and says, "Do you know anything about prostates and prostate issues?"
What?
Yeah, because he felt so comfortable talking, and I had never talked to this man before in my life. He just walks right up to me and says, "What? Do you know anything about prostates? Can you talk to me about my prostate because I'm having this issue?" Yes, I do have I do have some medical, stuff in my background, but it's one of those things where, and Jules will attest to it because my wife will definitely attest to it. People just come up and start talking to me about the strangest
Only
things.
to this guy. only to this guy. It doesn't happen to none of us.
so
I've been
it's,
asked, all kinds of questions in my life, but not about CrossFit. And I'm very approachable, and I get people talking to me all the time, but no.
yeah, Michael.
That's a whole new level.
I'm telling
That's out of
you,
the limit.
I've had people sit down next to me at a bar and tell me about their sexual history and their rape and this, that, and the other out of the blue. Not because they were drunk. They just felt like, I feel like I can just talk to you about anything. I'm like, really? You know, like right now?
Yeah, I understand that part.
Say again?
I understand that. I
Yeah.
can understand people being very drawn to you. Yeah. No, honestly, I can. No,
So what we're gonna do is
and,
because
it's a wonderful show.
oh, thank you.
Thank
You gotta
you
go.
so much.
Yeah, we do have to go, but follow us on Twitter. Again, it's INNERMIX_show. If you want to just follow us on Facebook, you can easily go on Facebook and just type in INNERMIX, and you will pop up. You know, even if you went to your browser, literally, just type in INNERMIX, we'll pop up all over the place, and you'll start to see, you know, where you want to follow us at. And that way, as we get ready to do our fundraising campaign and things like that, you might be able to be one of our joint venture partners in helping get the word out about it. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, we, you guys, we had a great time tonight. Things never really go the way we plan, but that's how come we have plans and God just laughs. So now we've just learned to laugh too. But we want to thank you guys for watching the show tonight. You guys have been incredible. Just in what I've heard in my ear, I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to do the new section tonight, which is the Let's Talk section, where people can literally, what we're doing for you guys, so next week, so you can be prepared, what we're going to be doing is, a lot of times we'll get questions that have nothing to do with the topic, kind of like what happened tonight, except not as planned, right?
Technically, kind of did happen tonight. Let's
Kind of did happen. Yeah, kind of did. But so what we're going to do is, for those questions that have nothing to do with the actual given topic of the night, we're going to pick one or two of those questions at the end of the show for the last 30 minutes of the show and just answer some of those questions, because we don't want you to have to wait till the next open for discussion show for you to get your questions answered. And we're realizing that we're getting more and more questions, especially they're super personal and all that kind of stuff. So we want to make sure that we can take the time out to answer you guys' questions effectively. So we're going to do that. So Let's Talk will be happening. If not next week, the week after, we'll see, because I'm going to be on vacation, but I will still be here for you guys. So, yeah. Other than that, I'm Simply D.
This is Jules.
And we want to thank Michael once again for joining the show. He was our special guest host tonight.
Oh, okay. My name is Michael Bathurst, by the way, if anyone wants to meet up and connect with me, that would be fine over the internet. But I would love to come on the show again sometime, maybe not for 20 minutes or whatever it was, but for a few minutes would be great. But I felt like I reconnected with two great people.
That's fantastic. We're glad that you had a great time with us, and then definitely follow us on Twitter so that we can see how to contact you and all that. And we will definitely keep you updated with what's going on and let you know the next time. So if you just see us on the air, you know how to find us. We're not hard to find. Just look for that song Black and Yellow. Just look for us and you'll be.
Black and Yellow? Is that an actual song?
Yeah, there's a.
Oh, it actually is, yes.
Yeah, there's a song called Black and Yellow. It's a rap song, and it came out during football season a couple of years ago, and people just went crazy over it.
Maybe our mascot should be a bumblebee.
Right? Bumblebee. Okay, but
songs about food?
Say again.
Do you do any songs about food?
Oh, you know what? We were
going to do one about cereal. Yeah. We need to do that. We need to record that one.
We really do. We really do that one. But we like to have a good time, Michael, and you'll see that not only in the way we do our show, but in the way we, you can tell. You know how you can watch the news, and you can tell when they're just having a good time. You can tell when it gets serious. The same thing happens with us, and when we don't have to be in our serious modes, then we are the same way in person that we are right now, and we have a good time. So we look forward to hanging out with you again. If you ever want to reach out to communicate, don't be a stranger. You can always find us on info@intermix.net. Go ahead and reach out, and we'll see if we can get you some of the stuff that you need for advertising the INNERMIX. we'll definitely take care of that for you.
It was
Anyway,
so nice to meet you, Michael.
Thank you.
okay.
I hope our paths cross again, and I hope you
Absolutely.
continue to be a great actress and an inspiring person who helps countless people across the universe.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Glad.
And you guys have a
too.
great night. We'll talk to you next week. This is the INNERMIX Show Hangouts version, and we'll see you next week.
Next Monday, 9 p.m. We'll see you
Yes.
then. Bye.
Bye.